In this section, we'll be exploring XPack, which is an add-on feature for the Elastic Stack. Throughout this section, we'll talk about the security aspects of XPack, we'll look at the machine learning plugin, we'll dive into the graph capabilities, we'll look at the newest plugin for XPack, the Application Performance Management, as well as Timelion. In this video, we'll be looking at XPack's security features. In this video, we'll talk about XPack and what it is. We'll understand how the security module works and how to configure it. We'll create different roles, users, and we'll talk about anonymous access. From the Elastic website, we see that XPack is an Elastic Stack extension that bundles security alerting, monitoring, reporting, and graph capabilities into one easy-to-install package. While the XPack components are designed to work together seamlessly, you can easily enable or disable the features you want to use. Now, one key distinction with the XPack features, some of them are free as long as you register on the Elastic website, and some of them are paid supported. When you first register and get a license, you can use all of the XPack components as we are in this video. After that trial period, you'll still have access to the free ones, such as the development tools, monitoring, and the paid features like graph machine learning are turned off. The security module within XPack it controls the whole gamut of applications. It controls Elasticsearch as your database, if you will, and the security features provide the ability to add users and roles. You put permissions in those roles, so it's a full role-based authentication system. You define privileges and permissions, what actions and accesses a role can have, so you can provide access to specific indices, you can provide access to specific columns within the data, and you can also add these users to groups. You can have multiple users with the same profile. So in one of our early videos, I might have done it quickly, but I disabled security. So you can see this XPack security.enabled feature is set to false in ours. So there are two things in here. So the security audit allows Elasticsearch to log any sort of access or indexing of data, so you can keep that in the audit log file. And then the security enablement allows you to set those permissions and roles and users. So one of the first things you do once you create that user, once you turn on the security features, you need to create default passwords here. So what this does, you create a default username called Elastic, which gets a password, one for Kibana and one for Logstash. So basically you take that Kibana username password and put it in your Kibana configuration for connecting to Elasticsearch. Same with Logstash when you're outputting to Elasticsearch. All right, so let's show you how to walk through the security changes. When I come to Kibana, I have my standard view. It says XPack is installed, and we can set up data. We can set up our normal Kibana things. You've seen throughout this video that the Kibana interface is changing. Elastic is coming out with a lot of new versions very quickly. So here we're going to turn on security. So we'll jump over to our Elasticsearch machine. We've SSH'd into the box. I'll become a root user just so I can have permissions without having too much issue. We'll browse to etc Elasticsearch, and here we can see our usual elasticsearch.yaml file. So we'll open up that YAML file, and we can turn on security at the bottom here. So XPack security enabled is false right now, and we'll keep that. We'll turn it on to true, and we will restart Elasticsearch. And if you weren't sure, if you missed where that elasticsearch.yaml file is, it's in off the root directory. It's etc Elasticsearch, and in that directory. So now that we've added security to our Elasticsearch, let's create the default users. So let's first browse to the folder in Elasticsearch where Elasticsearch is installed, the Elasticsearch home. We'll find an XPack plugin application. So you'll see that /XPack /setup passwords. We'll execute that with the auto parameter. That auto will randomly generate passwords for those key accounts. Initiating the setup of passwords for reserved users Elastic Kibana Logstash. The passwords will be randomly generated and printed to the console. So here now I would go into my Kibana application and take this password. So I'll go vi etc Kibana, Kibana.yaml. I would find my server name is localhost. Let's find user. Here we go. Elasticsearch user and password. So here, I'll change the user to Kibana and the password to the default password that came out of the password creation script. So this Kibana user, as it says here, is needed to make sure the indices are installed within Elasticsearch, make sure that it has right capabilities to its own Kibana application. So let's restart Kibana with service Kibana restart. Go back to our Kibana instance, refresh, and now see it's asking me for a login component because I'm not logged in as a person yet. So far we've only allowed Kibana access to the Elasticsearch indices. So let's go back over here. We'll follow the instructions from the Elastic website. Let's make a new user for me. You'll see we've got this curl command we can use. So this will make a user who can read the events indice. Let's grab this. Good thing you see that Elastic password right there. Okay, we see it there. Echo the password into echo. I need to store this password, so let's print it to the screen and put it into a file so we don't lose it. All right, so now this curl command that we just ran creates a role called events admin. In our application, you know, we've been looking at the metric beats data. We've been looking at the New York City restaurant review data. We could make a custom role with role events admin or restaurant admin, New York admin. And now we need to create a user to go into that role. So we'll be making this user John Doe with this password of user password, and we'll put him in the role of events admin. So let's execute that. We'll grab that Elastic password again. And now we created that user. So we know we have the user of John Doe. Email is john.doe@anonymous. Let's go back to our Kibana. So in Kibana, so we can log in as John Doe @anonymous. Is that how it was? OUS. With the password. We're still getting this HTTP default auth issue. So let's go look at our Kibana configuration. We'll via Etsy, Kibana, Kibana.yaml. Etsy, Kibana, YAML. Now I'm pressing in the first time, so get rid of the last file viewing. All right, now that we have this file open, we can see at the bottom that we have disabled security at some point in time. So let's write that. So we'll undisable, we'll re-enable, we'll enable security by turning that to false. Just to be explicit, we can set that to true if we'd like. Then we'll stop Kibana. We'll restart Kibana. And it's started, so now we'll refresh over here. We will force reload Kibana. And I hit a refresh, and we come to the login page. Sorry about that, editor. It's probably a little ugly, but we'll work on fixing it. All right, so let's go back and get that username and password that we just created for John Doe. So John Doe is john.doe@anani.mus. So we'll use that as our password. Let me just grab his email address real quick. Whoops, I did that backwards. User pass. And we'll hit login. And make sure we get the right password. User password, not user pass. User password. Alright, and we'll use the actual username and the password. And now we should be able to log in to Kibana. Now here, when we go and look up an index pattern, we can't find any Elasticsearch data because we only gave permissions to this user to find data in the system events indices, which we do not have in our data set. So, unfortunately, this user can't find any data. All right, in this video, we looked at setting up security, turning it on in Kibana and Elasticsearch. Before the next video, I'm going to turn off the security because this is all easier without it turned on, but now you know how to turn it on, how to set up roles, and how to set up different users. Our next video, we're going to look at the graph capabilities within XPack.